Boom. There we go. Well, sweet. Back with another weekly training. In this video, Ethan and I are going to be going through the North Star framework. Just to give you guys a little context on the North Star framework, this is something that we go through, anytime we start planning an event. It really does just lay the proper foundation needed to, one, like hit our KPIs within our business, and also just to deliver a really good experience for the attendee as well. We call it the North Star framework because it acts as the North Star, like the guiding, you could say the guiding information that pulls us through the design phase, the build phase, the deliver phase, all that good stuff. So we love this. If you're planning any events, whether it's virtual, in person, webinars, conferences, like you should definitely do the North Star framework just so you have a good understanding of like who your attendee is, what problem you're solving, what the objective of the event is, and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
Anything you'd add there, Eth?
Just that it may seem like homework or that it's, something to skip, but we can't stress the importance of filling it out, going hard, because it just makes everything easier when you have a clear understanding of your attendee and the purpose of the event.
Yeah. Ethan and I are in this, we're in this other mastermind group, and our mentor, he says that energy follows attention. And when you put attention on your attendee and understanding your attendee, their pain points, their false beliefs, who they are, where they're trying to go, like energy is going to follow that. And like the content you create is going to follow that. And it's going to be a much better experience. So it seems like tedious in the moment, like Ethan said, but like putting your focus there and actually putting energy into this stuff is going to make all the ships rise and in the events and your business as well. So can't overemphasize how important it is. All right, I'm just going to share my screen. Entire screen, boom, boom, infinite. There it is. Can you see that, Ethan?
Yep, we're good.
Awesome. So I'm just gonna go through this and kind of talk about like the examples that we put and like our thought process behind that. So just to kind of give you an idea of how you can navigate this when you're doing it for your event, and just to kind of help you answer these questions because they can be kind of vague sometimes. So the first one is recognize the problem, and this sheet that you guys actually have access to is nice. Ethan built this out, and you can come in here and you can, type in all your answers right here, and you can download it. You can print it out, whatever you want. So shout out to Ethan for making this. But recognizing the problem. So recognize the problem you were trying to solve and how your product, the event, will solve that problem for your community. So this is one thing that I feel like a lot of events miss is sometimes they don't know even like what problem they're trying to solve before like the event happens. And it can be pretty chaotic from an attendee's point of view. It can like really decrease the experience that the attendee has as they're navigating through your event. So if you can just define clearly like what problem your event is solving, like why does your event exist? And for the event, we always use Fun Launch Live as our big example because this is like our biggest event series we've ever put on. It was 3 years in a row. We had about like 5,000 attendees attend across all three of them. So it was we had some opportunities to play around with this. And the problem that we honed in on for this event was teach people how to launch and scale investment funds in a world where information is gatekept, bring people from all over the world together who are interested in funds. So launching an investment fund, it's like very hard to like know how to do that. And there wasn't very much information out there, which led to this gatekept atmosphere where only people who worked on Wall Street or only people who went to Ivy League schools, like they would be the ones that would start funds. So the mission for Fund Launch, the problem our event was solving was we wanted to make that information more accessible to everybody. And also, it's difficult to launch a fund when you're not surrounded by other people that are launching funds to learn from, to connect from, raise capital from. And like we said, it was very gate kept. So a lot of this networking would happen in Wall Street in the high finance world. So another problem we were solving is we wanted to bring people together to connect them who are not a part of that world, but still wanted to start funds. So that was like the problem we were solving. It was very clear in like all of our content, like the purpose of the event. That was the problem that was solving, which I think significantly increased the experience of our attendees. And then, if you want to talk about frame of mind.
Yep. So step 2 is to design the frame of mind for your attendee as they enter the event and seek to understand their expectations. So your attendee is coming to this event with their own problems, concerns, and questions. You have to frame your event to meet their needs. And the best way to do that is, like in step 1, you have to dive in and understand exactly what they want from the event. So going down to the key questions, these are the questions that you need to bring to your event team, to your design team, whoever is planning the experience, and ask, what do they expect from this event? What other events what do other events in the industry do? And then is there a standard to be met? How can you disrupt that standard and surprise and delight your attendees? And then what key message are you trying to convey in your marketing? So with Fund Launch, this is the example that we have here. This is the best place to learn about investment funds. Being ready to participate and having an open mind will help me extract as much value as possible. So just like Andy talked about, Fund Launch Live was an event that, as far as we knew, just didn't exist. Like there was not a Fund Launch Live, a massive conference for people who wanted to learn investment funds. And so we were kind of carving our own path forward and creating an opportunity that didn't exist already. And so because of that, we had to frame the event very clearly and tell them what to expect. Obviously, we have to understand their expectations, but then we also have to create expectations and then meet the expectations. And so that's kind of what step 2 is all about, is by conveying clearly what this event is going to be like. And so for Fund Launch Live, for example, the first one, we brought speakers. We had our client, who's the main coach and mentor of that community. Obviously, he was going to be a keynote speaker, but then we had real estate professionals, we had crypto people, we had family offices and venture capital and motivational speakers. And so we sold this event as like the ultimate hub for people wanting to learn about high finance or about investment funds. And we sold, the networking, we sold the people in the room. It was supposed to be this premier event that you couldn't get anywhere else. And so that the people buying tickets came into the event knowing that there was going to be a lot of value, even just from day one. So that's kind of this whole exercise, is designing the frame of mind for your attendee to say, okay, now I know what I'm getting when I go to this event. If you design the frame incorrectly and say, hey, the event's going to be like this, it's going to be super, networking heavy, but then the whole event is sessions and there's no networking, then people are going to be pissed and disappointed. So that's what this step is about.
Yeah. And yeah, I'd say just a large part of hosting events is just about meeting expectations or exceeding expectations. There's the classic saying, under promise, over deliver. And it's actually pretty valid for events. Like if you over promise and under deliver, that's a great way to ruin your reputation and to cause a horrible experience for your attendees. But if you promise them something and you deliver on that plus more, like it's going to be, game changer. So yeah, frame of mind is super important. Then number 3, so I'll just cruise through these vehicle internal, external false beliefs. They're pretty simple to understand, but starting off with the vehicle. So this is where you are discovering what the false beliefs are about that your attendees hold about your vehicle. When I say vehicle, I mean like whatever vehicle that you're teaching about, whatever the purpose of your event is. So for us, it was funds. Funds were the vehicle. In this program, we teach about events. Events are the vehicle. Maybe you teach about Facebook ads, like Facebook ads are the vehicle, or you teach about flipping real estate and that's the vehicle. Whatever it is, you want to hone in on those false beliefs that your attendees have about them. And for us, the false beliefs that our attendees held about the vehicle of funds was that funds are complex, that they are, very difficult to launch. It's hard to launch if you don't have any Ivy League experience or if you weren't on Wall Street, whatever it is. People have a lot of, false beliefs about just the difficulty it is to launch a fund. So that was like a large part of the first day. And also like another one is like that funds even work. A lot of people hear about, 30 or whatever, 80% of businesses that are launched fail. And then that's even more exclusive for funds, just because funds are a very niche type of business. So it was hard to convince people that, the fund vehicle actually works if they weren't very familiar with it. So a lot of the content that we did on, especially day one, was around just convincing people that the vehicle is proven and it works, and that it's something that you can use as well. And it's something that they can start regardless of all the rhetoric around it. So that's about the vehicle false beliefs, just like determining what people believe about your vehicle that is incorrect, that's going to hold them back from buying. And then up next is the false beliefs.
Oh, sorry, just real quick. I just wanted to, can you go up to step 3?
Yeah.
So for example, like us, Andy and I, our vehicle is events. Like that's why this whole group exists. And Andy's going to go through and talk about the vehicle, but just to bring it, home and relevant back to like what we're doing in this community, our vehicle for this channel, for this community, what we're doing, what we're teaching and consulting is events as a vehicle. And so, because of that, there are, it's important to identify the vehicle, of course, and then go through the false beliefs about that vehicle. And that's what we are trying to do on Skool, is to be guys that teach about events and help people understand how powerful they are and to address the concerns about them. So I just wanted to bring that home.
Totally. Also, just realize that this is the determine the vehicle page as well, which is not this next step is actually the false beliefs about the vehicle. So you can just explain what the vehicles are. It's obviously just like your unique mechanism, what you're teaching about. We're doing events. One of our clients was funds. One of our other clients is cleaning businesses. Whatever you're teaching about, that's your vehicle. And I just kind of explained the vehicle false beliefs. So step 5 now is internal false beliefs. And this is where you start to understand the beliefs that your attendees have about themselves that's holding them back from succeeding, from taking action, whatever it is. So a big false belief about, there's an example right here, but one that I like is a lot of people thought like that I just can't raise capital. Like I'm just not a good capital raiser. Like it's hard to go and pitch investors, and it's something I just can't do. It's out of the cards for me. And this false belief, if someone doesn't believe they can raise capital, like they will not start a fund, because that's, half the process of launching a fund is raising capital for that fund. So a lot of the content, especially on day 2, and you'll start to learn throughout this this community that we structure our events usually in 3 days, where it's day 1 vehicle, day 2 internal, day 3 external. So on day 2, a lot of our content was centered around capital raising and making sure that people saw that they could capital raise by, like, we would teach them capital raising strategies. And also we just have a bunch of our students speak on stage about how they were able to succeed with capital raising without any experience, or after going through our program, whatever it was. So that was like a big internal false belief to tear down. And then Ethan, you got anything else for internal false beliefs?
No, yeah, that's awesome. I think, with events, someone might say, "Oh, I'm not good on camera," or "Oh, I'm definitely not good on stage," or I'm not as eloquent as I could be with my community in person. And so obviously that's not true. Or if it is, it's something that you can improve. And so this step is all about saying, what are you insecure about? What are you doubting, your abilities? How are you doubting your abilities? And what can you do to improve that or crush it, make it not a fear anymore?
Yeah, exactly. And step number 6 is external false beliefs. So I'm sure you're starting to get the trend here. But external false beliefs are beliefs that your attendees have about the external world that they think is impacting their decision to act, and that they think will hold them back from success. So rolling with our example of Fund Launch Live and people starting funds, a big external belief is like usually, like, it's rare when the economy is doing really well. Like maybe right now, like crypto's taken off, the stock market's taken off, so maybe people would be like, oh, it's a good time to start a fund. But a lot of times people are like, oh, like the market's a little sketchy, it's unpredictable. Like people are saying the commercial real estate's going to crash, or people are saying that the stock market's going to crash, or crypto's going to get banned. A lot of people just hold these external false beliefs about the economy and the world around them that's holding them back from actually launching a fund. So to combat that, we gear a lot of content at that event around showing how you can launch a fund even when the economy sucks. In fact, some of the biggest funds of all time were launched during a recession or at the back end of a recession. So like a lot of the speakers of that day will get on stage and talk about like, hey, even if the economy goes down like tomorrow and you launch your fund today, like you'll be okay. Like things will turn out right. And it actually might be like an advantage for you that the economy sucks. So that's a big false belief that we tear down. And then developing the key framework. These last 2 they're optional. We still encourage them, but they don't apply to every single event. But we do recommend having a key framework. For Fund Launch Live, the key framework was deal, frame, capital, legal. For us, for launching events and for hosting events for education companies, our process is design, build, deliver, afterglow. So 4 phases. And then there's a lot of stuff that goes on within those phases, but having a simple to understand framework just makes it very easy for your attendee to digest. If they walk away with anything, they walk away with deal, frame, capital, legal. Like that's so easy to remember, and it's a lot less intimidating than if you were like, okay, here's the 16 steps you have to go through to launch a fund, and they have to go through every single one. It's like super, super complicated. But if you just tell them, hey, we teach a 4-step process. You just have to go through 4 phases to launch your fund, then you're done. Like, it seems a lot more approachable. So if you have a framework, I would recommend like making it concise like this, whether it's like phases, steps, it could be whatever you want, checkpoints, levels. But just having it very simple and easy to understand will make it less intimidating for your attendee, and probably increase their likelihood of success as well. And then the last one is create an offer, product, or service so good that they would feel stupid saying no. So this is a pretty high level explanation of like creating an offer. There's obviously like a lot more thought that kind of goes into it, but if you are thinking about your attendee and you're thinking about all the problems that they have. So for example, we're teaching, if we were teaching people how to launch and scale investment funds, like we would go through and we would kind of write down every single problem that they would run into when launching a fund. And then you just create something in your product that solves that problem. So the first one is like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know where the first place to start or where to go next. Like, I don't have a clear path for launching a fund. So, okay, we'll develop a 4-phase system for them to go through that's very easy to understand. It's like, well, I have questions. I watch a video and I have a question about capital raising and I have no one to ask. Okay, so we will get coaches for each phase that they can jump on a call with and answer the questions. It's like, well, I need to track my finances, and I'm not a CFO. I don't know how to do that. Okay, we'll build them out, spreadsheets that track all their finances. It has pre-built formulas, so they don't have to do anything. So if you just go down the list and like find every objection, every problem that your attendee has, and you solve that problem with your offer, like there's no reason they're not going to buy it. Like, that's how you create a good offer. It's just solving the problems and the objections that your attendee has surrounding the vehicle you're teaching about. If you can make it as easy as possible for them, then it's going to be a no-brainer for them to check it out. So you can use this part of the worksheet to start to brainstorm your offer. But this is not something you want to skip over or take lightly. Like, your offer is going to be very important when it comes to the event. So make sure you spend your time on that. And that's the North Star framework. If you got anything to add for those last few?
Yeah, just for the offer, like, to be clear, your offer doesn't have to be a paid upsell. It doesn't have to be a coaching program. It can just be your community, right? Especially for those listening here. We know you guys are on school. So it's the thing that is the next step. There's always a next step. Your event was created for a purpose. And so step 8 is really just step 1. They're both related. It's like, why did you do the event? And, understanding your attendee is crucial to getting them to a certain point. And number 8 is that point. Like, what's the next step for them to continue receiving value from you?
Exactly.
Whether that's paid or not. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that home.
Yeah. And that's it. That's a good point. Like, when you're crafting an offer for your community, just like if you're teaching whatever you're teaching about, just figure out what the problems are for your market and then add something that solves that into your community. Like, if networking is a big problem, then like that's already exists with the community. But if people want to ask questions about launching Facebook ads, and then make sure you have weekly or even daily Q&A calls. If people want somebody to come in and like set up their Facebook pixel with them, like, maybe you don't have to do that, but maybe have like a detailed video that shows how to set up their Facebook pixel. Like, if you just solve all those problems with your community, then like it's gonna be a no-brainer to join. So that's a little tidbit on offer creation. And then last thing I'll say is these false beliefs. So a rule of thumb in the sales world is people buy stuff to get away from pain. It's hardly ever the case that someone buys something purely because they want it. Like, wanting is a strong emotion, like desire, but pain is a much stronger desire. So usually when someone buys something, it's motivated by pain. And I was even trying to like break this the other day. I was like, okay, well, like, I'm trying to buy new golf clubs right now. And like, I don't think golf is that painful, but I just want clubs because they're cool. However, the more I was thinking about it, I was like, well, why do I want these golf clubs? And I was like, well, whenever I go out to play golf, like half the time my ball just feels dead coming off the club because my clubs are like 60 years old and my grandpa's hand-me-downs. And I was like, okay, well, like, when that happens, I'm actually so pissed off that like my ball goes 10 feet and I look like an idiot in front of the people I'm playing with. And I was like, there's actually like a lot of pain motivating my decision to buy golf clubs. So most of the time, like, desire exists, but pain is like the main motivator to take action. It's in our DNA. If you go down to like the biological perspective, like, we feel pain, we try to get away from pain. That's like survival 101. So these false beliefs are painful. It's painful for someone to believe that they can't raise capital because they feel stuck. I can't raise capital, I can't launch a fund, and that hurts because like I will never be able to be successful with this vehicle. Like, whatever you're teaching about, like all these false beliefs, like they're associated with pain. So if you want to get somebody to take action in your offer, or even just get the most out of your event, like if we say screw buying something and just get the most value out of your event, you want to, one, dissolve these false beliefs, which opens up the pathway to like relieve them of pain. So like if they have a false belief in the way, it's like, imagine like a road, like there's a wall on that road blocking them from getting from point A to point B. Like that false belief is blocking them from getting away from pain. But if you can break down that false belief, then the wall is gone and they can get from point A to point B. And like they can see that your offer like takes them away from pain and actually opens up that flow. So that's just a little like something interesting about false beliefs and pain, and also just like the psychology of buying. So little tangent, but that's an important part to emphasize when going through all this. So stop sharing.
Well said, sir. Well said.
Pain, man. We're all
Pain
humans
is the
experience.
motivator.
Sure. Well, sweet guys. Like always, these calls are at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on Wednesday, and we'll do this for probably like 5 or 6 weeks, and then we'll kind of do a poll in the community and see if like this was a good time. Maybe we can change it to the earlier in the morning, later in the afternoon. But we also have the recording, so if you're watching this, you're probably watching the recording. But if you ever want to jump on and get free training and ask some questions, like feel free to come on. We'd love to have you. Sweet.
Sick. Thanks,
Okay.
guys.